discover the incredible journey of a woman who became a mother when an Apache warrior came seeking help. In the sun-baked small town of Silver Springs, New Mexico, Sarah's heart felt like a drumbeat against the quiet backdrop of the diner. With worn-out sneakers scuffing the linoleum floor, she meticulously balanced coffee cups and plates. Each day, she poured herself into her job as a waitress, a lifeline for her and her 6-year-old son, Caleb. Life was tough, bills stacked high, and time slipped through her fingers like grains of sand. Yet, as she squatted to meet her son's curious eyes, everything felt worth it. Caleb's laughter lit the shadows in her life, his dreams woven into hers like stars in an endless sky. One evening, just as the last customers trickled out, a tall figure stepped into her world. Eli, captivating with his deep-set eyes and stories of strength, swirled around her like a summer breeze. "I'm an Apache warrior," he said with a calm intensity, and Sarah felt a spark within her ignite. He spoke of resilience, survival, and connections to the land that he had inherited. She listened closely, her arm brushing against the counter, heart pounding with every word. For a moment, the weight that pressed on her soul lightened, and she felt seen. Not just a waitress. Not just a single mom, but Sarah the dreamer who wanted so much more for her son. His kindness lingered like a sweet perfume. When he offered to help restore her dilapidated family property, a warm glow filled her heart. But with that warmth came the chill of pride, whispering doubts in her ear. "I'll figure it out," she thought stubbornly, the weight of her love for Caleb pushing resolutely against her fear of failure. Yet, as her estranged father returned to Silver Springs with demands of family loyalty, her world began to crumble. Tensions flared, old wounds opened wide, and secrets unfurled, crying out to be healed. Could she put the past aside and save not just the land, but her fractured family? Just when Sarah thought she had her footing, Eli's presence unveiled mixed reactions from the community. A flicker of support emerged, families banding together to encourage her, but fear held her back. Every encouraging word felt like another knot tied around her throat. She was torn between fiercely protecting her independence and recognizing the kindness that enveloped her. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As hope flickered like the neon lights outside, her chest tightened. The hum of old resentments clashed with the potential for new beginnings. In a pivotal moment, Sarah discovered a shocking truth about her heritage and her place in this community. Could she set aside her resentment? Could she embrace the unexpected help from Eli and the warmth of her neighbors? As shadows stretched across the New Mexico sky, she stood on the precipice of discovery, a journey that could redefine motherhood, family, and belonging. Would she step into the unknown and let love reshape her destiny? The air crackled with electric possibility, leaving her breathless, questions echoing in the silence. The following day, as the sun rose over Silver Springs, a sense of urgency filled the air. Sarah felt a stirring, an unease that had begun to seep into her bones. It was more than just her father's return, it was the feeling of life shifting, of time pulling her in unfamiliar directions. Standing in the diner, she poured another cup of coffee, every drop echoing her inner conflict. Eli had promised to help, but what did help even mean? To admit that she needed it felt like standing on the edge of a cliff, ready to leap into a vast and unknown ocean. Her heart raced at the thought. What if things went wrong? What if he turned out to be just like the people who had let her down before? As she reminisced about his calming presence, she heard the chime of the door, spilling sunlight into the diner. Eli stepped in, looking rugged and inviting all at once. He approached her with that familiar warmth, his deep-set eyes carrying droplets of unspoken understanding. Are you ready to talk about the property? His voice flowed over her like an embrace, and she felt the swell of hope rise within her. I'm not sure, she admitted, the words tasting bitter on her tongue. I'm afraid. Fear is natural, he said, leaning against the counter, the very picture of reassurance. But not all fear is bad. Sometimes it guides you to what you truly desire. Sarah glanced over his shoulder. The diner was quieter than usual, the tables empty, her co-workers busying themselves with mundane tasks. For a moment, it felt like the world had shrunk to just her and Eli. I'll do it, she said suddenly, feeling an ember ignite within her chest. Let us restore it. Together. She could almost hear Caleb's laughter bouncing off the walls of the old property, could envision him running through the garden she had long given up on. Eli smiled, a brightening beacon in her murky world. That's the spirit. We'll bring life back into that place. But just as optimism began to weave its delicate thread through her heart, the front door swung open again. Her father marched in, a scowl painted across his weathered face. The air thickened, charged with tension, a storm gathering strength. Sarah, he barked, eyes narrowing. You know we need to talk. Not now, Dad, she replied, a fire igniting within her. She hadn't felt this bold in years, but Eli was there, grounding her. I have plans. It wouldn't hurt to listen to your family for once, he countered, taking a step toward her. But Eli stepped beside Sarah, his presence firm, a sentinel amid chaos. She doesn't owe you anything. Not after all that has happened. Her heart soared at his support, yet doubt wrinkled her brow. Was she really ready to confront the past? Would standing up to her father pull her deeper into the fractures of her family? Tell him to leave, Sarah, Eli urged softly, his voice a guiding whisper in the throes of a tempest. With his gaze on her, she felt the swell of courage rise up through every fiber of her being. No, Dad. I've spent too long trying to fit into a mold created by you. It's time I carve my own path. The shock on her father's face was staggering, yet the fear was still rooted in her chest. What would happen next? Would her decision bring more pain, or would it finally set her free? Caleb appeared outside, his small figure against the vibrant backdrop of the day, his innocent curiosity shining through. Would he feel the shift in the air too? As the energy charged between them, Sarah took a breath, trying to steady herself for whatever was about to unfold. She had the power to shape her own destiny, but at what cost? The stakes had never felt higher. And as she faced her father, gripping tightly to Eli's supportive presence, a jolt of realization brushed against her heart. The journey toward healing could lead to unimaginable places. What would her father's reaction be next? Would he accept the change, or would it sever ties for good? The tension in the diner hung thick like fog, wrapping around them as her father glared, disbelief coloring his features. Sarah's heart pounded loudly in her ears, each beat echoing her defiance. She had expected anger, but the hurt lurking beneath his hardened exterior was unsettling. Do you think this is easy for me? He asked, his voice trembling slightly. I just came back, and you're shutting me out already? Maybe you should have thought about that before you left, Sarah fired back, the words spilling out before she had a chance to reconsider. It felt strangely liberating, even as a part of her recoiled at the sound of her voice. But she couldn't back down now, not with Eli standing by her side. Family is all we have. He shouted, gesturing wildly with his hands. You're throwing everything away over some outdated dream of yours. I'm not throwing anything away, she replied, voice steadier than she felt. I'm rebuilding something that was broken, something you broke. I'm reclaiming my future. The words lingered in the air, and for a moment, silence engulfed them. Eli's presence beside her radiated warmth and strength, a reminder that she wasn't alone in this fight. Caleb, the source of so many mixed emotions, peeked through the window, innocent eyes wide with curiosity. The world outside continued, blissfully unaware of the turmoil brewing within. The muscles in her father's jaw tightened, and she noticed how his hands clenched at his sides, mere inches away from the storm of regret swirling in his heart. But would he admit it? Could he let go of the past and embrace the possibility of healing? "I'm trying to protect you," he finally said, his voice dropping, a hint of vulnerability emerging. "You don't know what you're getting into. This isn't just a house, it's a legacy. And it's mine now," she shot back. "You had your chance, and you walked away. It's my turn to decide what that legacy means." The diner inhabitants, those who had always known her as just Sarah, now bore witness to a transformation she barely recognized. But would they see her for who she truly was, an individual brave enough to fight for her dreams? "Dad, I have your blood in my veins, but I'm not you," she said gently, the fire within her still crackling though it softened into something more akin to compassion. "I need to forge my own path." His gaze dropped to the floor, and in that flicker of time, she saw a crack in the armor he wore. I can't lose you too." His admission hung heavily in the air, and the weight of the moment threatened to overwhelm her. "What if we can build something new?" Eli suggested quietly. "Together. As a family." Sarah felt her father's eyes, filled with years of longing and regret, lift to meet hers. For the first time, a glimmer of understanding flickered in them. Perhaps there was a chance. A chance not just for her, but for all three of them. But as hope crept in, anxiety clawed at her heart, whispering doubts. What if the moment shattered like glass? What if this conversation opened old wounds too deep to heal? Feeling the stir of fear, she took a deep breath, searching for her footing in this moment of uncertainty. Could they really start anew? Outside, the sound of laughter cut through the tension, mingling with the scent of fresh coffee and baked goods. Caleb's small figure danced with a carefree joy, blissfully unaffected by the storm inside. Was it possible to create a legacy built on forgiveness instead of fear? The question loomed large in Sarah's mind as she faced two pivotal people in her life. Would they take this leap together, or would her father choose the silence of the past? She felt her heart race as she awaited his answer, teetering on the precipice of change, ready to confront whatever came next. Would they finally start to mend what had been broken, or would they be left standing in their own shadows? As Sarah stood there, the diner seemed to shrink around them, the noise of clinking silverware and quiet conversations fading into a hush. Her father's eyes glistened, capturing the fleeting light of hope dangling over them like a fragile thread. The way he looked at her was a reminder of who he once was, before the world had worn him down. "Do you remember when you were little?" He broke the silence, his voice a rough whisper. "You always wanted to build that treehouse. You wanted it to be your own little world, away from everything." She nodded slowly, memories flooding back scrawled drawings on grainy paper, days spent by the trees, dreaming of a place built by her own hands. "But you said it wasn't safe," she replied, her heart aching as she realized how much she had tied that childhood vision to her current fight. "I was scared," he confessed, his grip on the table tightening. "I didn't want you to get hurt, but I see now. I see how much you needed that. Needed me to trust you." Eli, standing slightly behind her, shifted his weight, sensing the emotional tide turning. "Maybe we can all trust each other, just like you wanted Sarah to trust you then," he offered, a calmness radiating from him. Her father swallowed hard, the relief washing over him barely masking the tears welling in his eyes. "I'm here now. I want to help you with the house, with your dreams." Just what?" Sarah pressed, her pulse quickening. Beneath the surface layer of anger, there was a raw vulnerability in his tone that made her lean closer. "I don't want to lose you again," he admitted, his voice cracking. "That's why I came back. I thought if I held on to what I had, I could protect it. But all it did was create walls." The weight of his words wrapped around Sarah like a tight hug, pulling her closer to understanding his struggles. Maybe she had been too hard. Maybe the idea of rebuilding scared him as much as it thrilled her. She took a step back, absorbing it all, gathering the pieces of a fractured relationship to see if they could fit. "We can find a way to do this together," she said softly. "But it's going to take more than just wanting it. We need to be honest with each other." He looked down again, shame flickering in his eyes. "I need to face my past too. I've buried things I can't suppress anymore. I thought it was easier to run." Sarah took a deep breath, her heart swelling with empathy. "We all have scars. What if we shared them, instead of letting them divide us?" The diner buzzed around them, life moving as they stood in their small corner of the world. Her father finally raised his head, and there was something new there. Acceptance? Perhaps. Hope? Definitely. She wanted to reach out, to pull him from the shadows, but fear had woven itself tightly around both of them. "Can we really do that?" he asked quietly, his voice barely above a whisper. Caleb peeked back into the diner, innocence shining from his young face, oblivious to the intensity of the moment. It struck Sarah that he was their unbroken thread, their chance at redoing this family. She looked back at her father, determination filling her veins. "Yes," she breathed, "together. We can rewrite our story if we're willing to break through the fear, one step at a time. But it has to start now." His nod was hesitant, but there was resolve behind it. She felt her own heart steady as she reached out her hand, a small gesture signaling a willingness to embrace the unknown. As he placed his hand in hers, a quiet but potent energy buzzed in the air, a promise, a commitment. But just as relief washed over her, a familiar figure stormed in through the diner doors, the wind cascading behind them, disrupting the fragile peace. "Sarah!" The newcomer called, urgency tinging their voice. "You need to come outside, there's something happening you want to believe." The weight of their fragile moment felt like it could unravel in an instant. She turned, looking into her father's eyes, fear and curiosity mingling. What was waiting for them outside? Would it shatter what they were starting to build, or could it be another chance for healing? As the diner throbbed with energy once more, Sarah knew one thing for sure: they were standing on the edge of something monumental. But what would it take to keep them together through what lay ahead? She took a deep breath, prepared to step into whatever chaos awaited. The urgency in the newcomer's voice pierced through the heavy atmosphere like a bolt of lightning. Sarah felt her heart race as she turned towards the door. The diner's neon sign flickered outside, illuminating the worried faces of a small crowd gathering on the street. "What is going on?" she asked, her tone a blend of fear and curiosity. The person didn't hesitate. "There's a man out there, he's claiming to have something important to tell you. Something about your mother." The words hung in the air, thick and charged. For a moment, Sarah's mind went blank. Her mother had been gone for years, lost in memories and silence. The thought of someone speaking about her felt surreal, like stepping into a dream that demanded attention. Next to her, Eli shifted, sensing the tension. Her father's hand remained firmly clasped around hers, grounding her. "Do you want to go see?" he asked gently, his own voice shaking slightly as he tried to gauge her reaction. Sarah swallowed hard, memories of her mother washing over her like a tide of bittersweet nostalgia. She hadn't thought of her mother in a long time, hadn't allowed herself to really feel that loss. "I have to," she whispered, her voice barely audible as she broke their connection, stepping toward the door. "I need to know." Eli followed closely, matching her footsteps. There was no turning back. Outside, the cool evening air met them like an unguarded breath, and the low chatter of the crowd mingled with the rustle of leaves in the evening breeze. As they stepped into the light, the situation came into view. A tall figure stood in the center, his stance confident yet respectful. He wore a weathered leather jacket, and his long dark hair flowed down his shoulders. Lines of experience etched his face, but it was the fire in his deep-set eyes that captivated Sarah. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice strong despite her racing heart. I'm Joaquin, he said, his voice deep and smooth. I come from the Apache Nation. I have something that belongs to you, to your family. An electric charge rushed through the crowd, their whispers rising like a symphony of curiosity. Everyone hung on his every word. What do you mean? She pressed, a knot forming in her stomach. The past had a way of creeping up on her in waves, leaving her vulnerable and exposed. Your mother, Joaquin began, his gaze steady and unwavering. She was a part of our community. She fought for our people, with a heart full of courage. When she left, she carried a piece of us with her, hoping one day it would lead you back. The mention of her mother sent shivers through Sarah. She felt the weight of every childhood question rush back. What does that mean for me? Why tell me this now? There is a legacy no one else can share with you, he said. A responsibility. You are meant to carry it forward. The air turned thick with possibility. It felt like the ground beneath her shifted, opening to something she had never considered. Her heart raced with both excitement and fear. This might be the answer to many unasked questions about her mother and her own identity. Her father stepped forward, struggling to find words. What does this mean for us? He asked, voice strained. Are we supposed to go back now? To your community? Joaquin glanced between them, his demeanor softening. You can choose to learn, to understand, or you can leave it behind. But know this: the truth can heal if you let it. Sarah's mind whirled. The pieces of her past, her mother, and this mysterious man were all swirling together, each fragment heavy with significance. The promise of discovery was close enough to taste, yet fear loomed large. She looked back at her father. This was the moment they had both been waiting for, but would they be strong enough to face whatever lay ahead? Before she could take a breath, the next image in her mind struck like flint on steel. What if the journey could bring them together as a family? The thought lingered as the air crackled with potential. Let us do it, Sarah finally said, a sense of resolution bubbling within her. The unknown was daunting, yet exhilarating. Let us find out what it all means. And as she concluded, the winds shifted once more, the call of destiny urging them forward into uncharted territory. What would their stories reveal? What awaited them on this incredible journey? The night wrapped around them like a comforting blanket, but for Sarah, it felt electric, charged with uncertainty. Joaquin's eyes held stories untold, a bridge to her mother's past. The murmurs from the crowd faded into a soft hum. It was just her and the man who claimed to hold the key to a world she longed to understand. As they stepped closer to him, Sarah could sense the weight of his presence. Her father's hand found hers again, a silent vow they were in this together. What do we need to do? She asked, her voice firm but trembling. Joaquin regarded them both, his face a canvas of thought. First, you must come with me. There's much to share. But know this: every story is two-sided. Yours will uncover truth, and in turn, it may challenge everything you believe. The crowd parted as Joaquin motioned for them to follow, leading the way down the street. Sarah's pulse quickened. Her excitement grew, battling against the nervous flutter in her stomach. What awaited them? Questions multiplied like stars in the sky: thoughts of community, of legacy, of embracing something extraordinary for the first time. As they passed the diner and turned onto a quieter road, Sarah caught glimpses of the townsfolk watching, concern etched on their faces. Some whispered, while others appeared to hold on to their own histories, their relationship to her mother unknown, but palpable. Why didn't I know any of this? Sarah blurted out, unable to contain her frustration and curiosity. How can a part of my life be hidden so deeply from me? Joaquin looked back, his eyes softening. Your mother made a choice to shield you from this world. It was a promise to keep you safe. But now, with the right guidance, you can uncover your true identity. You can learn who you are meant to be. Eli, ever the supportive pillar, offered a reassuring nod as they gained pace, hurrying to keep up with Joaquin's long strides. His presence beside her felt grounding, a reminder that she wasn't alone in this quest. "How do I honor my mother's legacy?" Sarah asked, the words spilling out of her in a wave of yearning. "The first step is understanding where you come from," Joaquin replied. "And that begins with your heritage. I want you to meet our people. They have much to tell you, much to teach. Your mother left early, yes, but she was never really lost." They approached a clearing, the backdrop now framed with the soft glow of lanterns and the sound of gentle laughter drifting through the air. A gathering welcomed them, a blend of ages and stories, each face a reflection of her mother, undeniable legacies in every feature. Sarah's heart filled as she realized the family she'd never known stood ready to accept her. It was as if the fabric of her existence threaded itself anew, and she felt each stitch aligning. When they entered the circle, a hush fell over the group. Eyes turned towards her, filled with warmth and curiosity. Overwhelmed, she found herself frozen for just a moment. Then, she remembered why she had come. This was not just for her mother or for the ghosts of the past, it was for herself. In that instant, one elder stepped forward, a woman with a crown of silver hair that framed her face, glowing with wisdom and love. "You've come home, Sarah. Welcome." Tears prickled at Sarah's eyes. The idea of belonging wrapped around her like a warm embrace, something she had longed for yet never fully understood. But even as joy blossomed, a nagging question remained: what if some truths were better left hidden? With each smile, there was the weight of expectation. Would she be the woman they hoped for, or would her doubts overshadow the hope that filled the air? Suddenly, the upbeat mood shifted as the elder's voice rose above the crowd. "Tonight, we invite you to our fire. Stories will be shared, but be warned, some stories change everything." Sarah held her breath, mouth dry. What would she learn? Would she have the courage to embrace her past, her history? As she stepped into the circle, the night thick with possibilities, the fire crackled and popped, illuminating her path. The journey had only just begun, and deep down, she sensed that the heart of the story still lay ahead, waiting to reveal itself. What truths would emerge from the flames? Would she find the strength to face what was coming? The fire crackled softly, its glow illuminating the expectant faces surrounding Sarah. She could feel their eyes on her, an unspoken bond connecting them all. Stories swirled in the air, each one a thread in the tapestry of her life, yet woven by hands she had yet to meet. Sarah's heart pounded. A mix of hope and fear tightened within her chest. "Come forward," the elder beckoned, gesturing for Sarah to step closer to the flames. "Tonight, we honor your mother and all she gave us." With each step, Sarah felt the weight of her ancestry on her shoulders, yet also a flicker of courage ignited by the warmth of the fire and the encouraging nods from her father and Joaquin. Their presence reminded her she wasn't facing this alone. As she reached the fire, Joaquin took his place by her side, grounding her with a steadying hand on her back. "Just listen," he whispered. "Let the stories flow, you're about to discover something beautiful." In the circle, the elder began weaving tales that danced like shadowed images in Sarah's mind. Stories of the land, of struggle and resilience, of laughter and sorrow. Each account unfurled a piece of her mother's past, a reflection of the life she had cultivated far away. She could almost see her mother's younger self in these tales, vibrant and alive among her people. The elder's voice quivered slightly as she recounted the moment her mother had left their community, fleeing the expectations of a life predetermined. "She chose freedom," the elder said, her eyes glistening. "But in her heart, she carried us. And now, it is time for you to know what that means." The air thickened with emotion as she spoke of the pain of separation. Yet it was intertwined with a celebration of identity, a melding of two worlds. The sacrifices made, the beauty gained. Sarah's heart ached with the desire to understand where she fit within this dichotomy. Would she be enough to carry on her mother's legacy, to embrace the stories of those before her? As one tale ended, another began. A young girl stepped forward, her cheeks flushed with excitement. The flickering light caught her braided hair as she shared a story of courage and friendship. Sarah felt the warmth of connection burgeon among the group, a web of kinship forming around her as laughter erupted and children danced. It was a reminder that community wasn't just about blood, it was about those who nurtured you, who caught your hand when you stumbled. But then silence fell again as another elder stepped forward, this one with solemn eyes. There are stories where darkness creeps in of loss and sorrow, he warned, his voice low yet resonant. You must be prepared for this truth as well. The weight of his words pressed upon Sarah, pulling her deep into her thoughts. Would she be ready to face the pain that accompanied the beauty? A flicker of doubt sparked within her. What if the legacy she desired was marked by shadows instead of light? And what if those shadows extended beyond her mother's life, reaching into her own? With trembling hands, she glanced at Joaquin, who simply nodded, urging her to stay present. She returned her gaze to the fire, mesmerized by the dance of flames and embers. Here in this moment, stories blended together, everyone shared laughter and tears, dreams and regrets. They were all paths leading back to her. As the night deepened, Sarah knew the next tale would draw her closer to understanding her ancestral roots. Just as she steeled herself for more revelations, the night was interrupted by a distant sound, a drumming that pulsed through the air, resonating with something deep inside her. Some stories, like the drumming, call us back to our true selves, the elder with silver hair said, her voice threaded with power. Listen intently, for they often bring forth both light and dark. Sarah's heart raced at this new layer of truth being unraveled. The weight of destiny hung in the air, thick with anticipation. What awaited her when the next story was told? Would she be ready to discover the intricate paths of her lineage, or would fear drive her back into the shadows? She felt the fire's warmth suffuse her, a beckoning energy urging her forward. The music played on, echoing the heartbeats of her ancestors, leading her deeper down the path of her journey. What awaited her when she crossed that threshold? What would the next story reveal? The drumming grew richer, faster, weaving through the air like a living thread, calling out to Sarah. Her heart quickened in rhythm with the beat. The elder's gaze upon her felt intense, urging her to embrace whatever came next. Was this the moment of truth she had been waiting for? As she stood, the world outside the fire's glow faded. The drums were no longer distant, they pulsed within her, awakening feelings long dormant. The air thickened with magic, and she knew this wasn't just a story, it was a piece of her own legacy waiting to unfold. Suddenly, a figure stepped forth from the circle. Tall and strong, with striking features, he had the look of a fierce protector. Every movement was hypnotic, as if the ground itself celebrated his arrival. I am Koa, he announced, his voice deep, threading its way through the fabric of their gathering. Many moons ago, I traversed these lands in search of what was lost. Tonight, I share a story that may open the door between what was and what could be. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. Koa was not just a character in a story, he felt like a bridge to her mother's past, a pathway to the understanding Sarah desperately sought. The fire flickered as he spoke, illuminating his face with warmth and conviction. The journey of my people was fraught with battles and heartache, Koa continued, his voice steady yet tinged with emotion. But amid the shadows, I found beauty, a love that transcended separation. It is a tale involving your mother, Sarah. She was far more than a name spoken in hushed tones, she was a beacon of courage. Gasps emerged from the gathered crowd as their eyes widened, curiosity flaring. Sarah's heart raced, her mother's life woven into someone else's destiny. She trembled with anticipation, moving closer to the fire, feeling the heat brush against her skin, an anchor to her reality. Your mother and I met beneath the watchful gaze of the mountains. She was seeking freedom, a respite from a life that sought to bind her. His gaze pierced through the night, as if recalling the precise moment of their meeting. I was a warrior. She was a spirit gliding between worlds. Together, we discovered what it meant to fight not just for our people, but also for our hearts. Each word was a piece of her mother she had never known. Sarah envisioned her mother as a warrior too, strong and resolute. She felt the flicker of aching pride. Yet, uncertainty grew in the depths of her heart. If her mother had taken risks, embraced love amidst chaos, what would that mean for Sarah's journey? I led her to our sacred places, as she led me to the untamed spirit within, Koa said softly. But each love story carries weight, sacrifices made, paths diverged. A shadow clouded his chiseled features. There came a time of reckoning, when the choice between love and duty could not be avoided. Sarah's heart ached at the implication. Could there be pain woven into this legacy, a heart-wrenching choice her mother made? She swallowed hard, staring into the flames as if they might reveal the answers she craved. Would she also have to make such a choice between the call of her ancestors and the life she knew? Koa's voice grew urgent. But we all have our battles, Sarah. Every soul must navigate their journey. While the drumming calls us back to our true selves, it is up to you to decide what to do with that knowledge. The air buzzed with expectation. Sarah's mind raced, her heart laying bare, exposed to the truth, the power of love, and the accompanying burdens. What path lay ahead for her now? Could she embrace her mother's choices and her own unfolding journey? The crowd leaned in closer as Koa prepared to share the next chapter of this intertwined history. Sarah held her breath, gripping Joaquin's hand tight, feeling the electric current of their hearts beat in rhythm. And as the night's magic filled the air, she realized there was so much more to learn. Just when she thought she understood, the next revelation could change everything. What would she discover about herself in this tapestry of love and sacrifice? Would she be ready to embrace the shadows as fiercely as the light? Sarah leaned in, her focus solely on Koa as he began to speak again, the weight of anticipation settling around them like a comforting blanket. The drumming echoed in her chest, and she could feel the heat of the fire dancing on her skin. Every heartbeat was a whisper of her mother's brave spirit urging her forward, daring her to listen and learn. After much time spent together, your mother was faced with a choice that would change everything for her and for me, Koa continued, his tone shifting into something reverent, almost sorrowful. A darkness fell over our lands, a force that threatened to consume everything we held dear. We fought side by side, but there came a moment when she sensed what lay ahead, a burden I could not help her carry. Sarah's breath hitched. She could see her mother, standing tall, embodying strength and grace, yet torn by a reality too harsh for anyone to bear alone. Was this also a reflection of her own life? The choices she would soon face? Would the battle be hers to fight, too? Koa's words painted vivid images in her mind. When the time came, she chose to protect her family, to weave a different narrative than the one we crafted together. She believed that to protect our heritage, she must sacrifice the love we shared in order to safeguard our people. His eyes glistened with unshed tears, and Sarah felt the weight of his pain like a physical presence. It made her heart swell with a mix of admiration and impending dread. She was courageous, Koa went on. But courage can take many forms. Sometimes, it's knowing when to hold on and when to let go. His words struck Sarah in the core, making her reflect on her own path. The thought of her mother's sacrifice fed a fire within her. But she was left wondering, what if she didn't want to let go? What if she wanted to forge her own path, one where love and duty could coexist? As she glanced at Joaquin, seated beside her, the corners of his mouth turned up in a soft, encouraging smile. It bolstered her spirit, but the uncertainty of what lay ahead nagged at her. Your mother left a legacy, Sarah. She passed wisdom down through the ages, Koa continued. But that wisdom isn't only hers to convey. It must flow through you as well. You must face your own choices and discover your truth. The drumbeat will guide you, the stories will envelop you, but the decisions will be yours to make. The air shimmered with magic and possibility, and Sarah's heartbeat quickened again, each pulse reminding her that she was at a crossroads, a moment that would set the course of her life. The weight of Koa's message resonated deeply, filling gaps in her understanding while igniting questions she wasn't sure she was ready to answer. "Will you fight with me?" Koa asked, the firelight reflecting the intensity of his gaze. "Will you let the legacy of love guide you? Will you be willing to embrace both the joy and the heartache that come with it?" "Fight with you?" Sarah echoed, uncertainty swirling within her but a spark of hope igniting nonetheless. "Yes. Choose for love, choose for your people, but never forget to choose for yourself. Your heart holds the compass." Koa's voice was steady, no longer just a recounting of the past, it was an invitation, a challenge. As the last echoes of the drums faded softly into the night, Sarah felt a kind of clarity emerge from the chaos. She didn't have all the answers yet, but she felt resolute. No matter what lay ahead, she would carve her own path while honoring those who came before her. With one more look at Koa, she steadied herself. All this knowledge felt like a delicate web, and she was tasked with weaving it into her own tapestry of history. What lay ahead for her, beyond the pain her mother had known? What new choices would she face? And how could she blend the shadows of love and sacrifice into something beautiful? An impending encounter caught her attention, drawing her away from her thoughts. Koa's expression shifted, a mixture of urgency and awe crossing his face. "There's something more, but you must be ready." Sarah's heart raced, a flutter of anticipation replacing her earlier uncertainty. She felt in every fiber of her being that the night was far from over. What revelation awaited her next? Koa's gaze held a quiet intensity, pulling everyone closer to the fire as shadows danced around them. The air was thick, alive with expectancy. Tonight isn't just about understanding the past. It's about claiming the future, he declared, his voice unwavering. There's an awakening on the horizon, one that awaits your embrace. But first, we must face the truth that shadows our hearts. Sarah's breath stilled. A truth? Could it be the key to her journey? What had she not yet uncovered? She exchanged a glance with her father, who stood just behind, eyes filled with shared anticipation and vulnerability. She felt a sense of unity amongst them, a small shield of courage that started to dispel the lingering fears. Koa stepped aside, moving with purpose to a small bundle resting at the base of the fire. With careful hands, he unwrapped the cloth and revealed a sacred drum, shining in the night's glow. "This drum has been in your mother's family for generations. It holds the echo of their stories, their pain, and their triumphs. Tonight, it will serve as a guide for your journey." He looked deep into Sarah's eyes, those pools of dark wisdom and warmth, and she felt the world fade, leaving only the sound of her heartbeat. "It's time for you to take it. This drum represents the connection between your past, present, and future. Use it to reclaim your story." Sarah stared at the drum, a mixture of awe and dread swirling within her. Could she truly step into her lineage like this? Every part of her screamed to run, yet a deeper intuition pulled her forward. She stood taller, swallowing hard, and took a step towards Koa. "I'm ready," she said, her voice steady as she reached for the drum. As her fingers made contact with its surface, a rush of energy surged through her, sensations unfurling like petals blooming in the dawn of her awareness. "Acknowledge the stories. Listen to what they tell you," Koa urged, his tone becoming almost reverent. "This is your moment to feel the stories coursing through your blood, to blend your mother's legacy with your destiny." Taking a deep breath, Sarah positioned the drum against her lap and tapped it gently. The sound resonated through the gathering, a soft pulse that felt both powerful and healing. Memories began to weave around her like a familiar shawl, the laughter of children, the vibrant colors of dances, and her mother's laughter floating in the air like the sweetest melody. As she played, a mystic connection formed between her and those who sat in the circle, faces illuminated by the firelight, their expressions filled with admiration and respect. Every beat that echoed from the drum opened threads to a lineage she now belonged to. Here, identity and memory intertwined, revealing pieces of herself that had been shrouded in silence. With each strike of the drum, visions swirled in her mind. She saw her mother, strong and fierce, dancing alongside ancestors long gone, fighting not just for her freedom, but igniting dreams within the community. Tears pricked at the corners of Sarah's eyes, the realization of how much power lay within her, how the very essence of her mother lived through her. And in that moment, a newfound clarity pierced through her heart. "I won't be bound by fear or uncertainty," she declared, her voice growing stronger. "I'll honor the journey, embrace the shadows, and shape my future. My mother's choices don't dictate mine. I will create my own legacy." The night erupted into a chorus of support and cheers from those gathered, erupting like fireworks against the backdrop of the starlit sky. Those words felt like chains breaking, resonating deep within, bringing life back to what had felt dormant for too long. Koa nodded, clearly moved. "You understand the gravity of legacy, Sarah. You carry not just your mother's dreams but the spirit of an entire community. Together, we rise." Her father stepped forward, his presence warm and assuring. "I see you now, not as just my daughter, but as a woman rooted in strength, ready to reclaim what was lost." Tears glistened in his eyes as he reached out, pulling her into a firm embrace. The world around them melted away, and with it, years of hurt and misunderstanding. As Sarah breathed him in, she felt like all the pieces of her story finally clicked into place. Reconciliation wasn't just about healing, it was about growing together. As they pulled apart, Caleb appeared in the background, eyes wide with childlike wonder. "Mom, are you a warrior now too?" he asked, teeth flashing in a bright, innocent smile. Her heart swelled, embracing the humor and joy of his innocent perspective. "Yes, Caleb, I think I am." She laughed, wiping a tear from her cheek. And as the fire flickered and the drumming continued, she glanced at Joaquin, who wore a proud expression. Their journey, a mosaic of heartbreak and love, had woven in the strands of family, courage, and the courage to confront the depths of the unknown. The crowd roared, celebrating not just Sarah's awakening, but the continuity of shared stories, heritage, and the power of forgiveness. Here they were, far removed from the confines of fear, united not by the baggage of the past but by the resounding promise of a brighter tomorrow. "Let this be our new beginning," Sarah declared, her heart full and radiant. "Together, we will build a legacy that honors our past and embraces our future. One written in love, strength, and shared dreams." With that affirmation, the night took flight. As laughter diffused into the cool air, Sarah realized she would never again shy from the woman she was destined to become. She stood grounded by the echoes of drumming, surrounded by community, embracing her birthright, the vivacious heartbeat of life. Now, it was their time. Time to forge paths bright and bold, growing light into shadows, and resilient love through every step. And as the stars looked down in reverence, Sarah felt the deep thrum of possibility beneath her feet. The journey was only just beginning. Now, it's your turn. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help more hearts find this journey. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this powerful ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this profound transformation. Show your support. Only true fans understand how vital these actions are.